Welcome, everyone. I'm Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a Taino Arawak, and this is past life readings. So there are certain past life experiences that you've had that are currently affecting your life now. Those are the ones that I will be focusing on. And if you have a question very specifically about your past lives, where you were, who you were with, what you were doing, you can go ahead and drop questions as well if you don't just want to leave it open-ended. The payment information is it up above? Not anymore. It's in the description, okay? But it is also here on the screen on YouTube off to the side a little bit. And if you are on TikTok or Instagram, Diana, my producer, is posting the payment directions in the comment section. Do you want some catnip? She's going to be posting that in the comment section and trying to pin it as it will allow. Yeah, I'm going to have some fun with that. All right, so let's see what's going on. Who do we have first? What do we have first? First past life reading coming up is Abby Like Hicks. Okay, no specific question for Abby. Abby, what past life information is important for Abby to hear at this time? I'm seeing a past life where you appear to be a male, thin, not really thin as much as like lanky, kind of muscular, but you didn't eat much. You didn't have a lot. And I feel you being stuck in some situations where you felt work was extraordinarily hard for very little payout. I see you working in what looks like some type of like a bog or almost like a swampy type atmosphere. This reminds me a little bit of like Louisiana, Savannah, like deep South, where you're, but this actually feels more like Australia. And you feel native, you feel indigenous to me. Is that Aboriginal? What is that in, okay, so like dark hair, a little bit lighter eyes. Anyways, you're in this environment where there are definitely like crocodiles. Okay, they're crocodiles or alligators or whatever, they look like crocodiles to me, but you're having to work very hard and you're trying to provide for your family, which was a bit of a community effort. This was a situation where everyone assisted each other, but we are still coming up short all the time. And as a male, there was a lot of pressure put upon you. I mean, you look like a teenager to me, maybe 16. There was a lot of pressure put upon you to bring in more resources than what you were often able to catch. So it looks like you're not hunting in the traditional sense of like a bow and arrow, but you are catching, food from this dangerous swampy area, and you are also eating some things while you're down there so that you can sustain yourself and not have to like take from the family or the community when they're eating later, when they cook all this food and they're eating. Like, you don't want to be seen eating. Which tells me that you were in a routine of sacrificing, being criticized for not doing enough, even though they couldn't do any better, and feeling some level of shame, unappreciation, discomfort in even taking care of yourself, right? The basics, like eating food in front of other people. Now, how does this pertain to where you are now? Well, I think that you may minimize your needs in this life. Where you are right now in this life, you are overgiving, overreaching. You are allowing yourself to be stripped thin. You are doing too much and coming up short. in regards to your own energy for yourself. You may also be feeling very much now, last year, I'm hearing the last 3 years in general, you know, you met someone 3 years ago, or you were dealing with someone 3 years ago that triggered a lot of these past life unresolved issues. And this person would have been one of the people from your past life who took from you and sort of passed judgment on you and got other people to talk about you or think about you or see you in that way. Okay, but came off as like a friend, a helper, you know, an advisor, a mentor, an elder, but they weren't. They were toxic. And I think that since this 3-year mark back, you've been processing where in your life you do overgive, overshare, have any codependency issues, where you don't see yourself as the resource, or you don't feel confident that you can provide for yourself. So you may give too much of your power away to like banks, institutions, the government, employers, shared income with a love partner, things like this. I feel that what's really necessary at this point is taking your power back, okay? And realizing that sometimes people put you down, and this probably goes all the way back into your childhood, I'm assuming from birth, because this has been a lifelong cleanup, karmic cleanup and influence from this life. But, you know, with it coming to a head now, you're probably looking back at all the different ways that you recognize people have put you down, and they were like a dumpster fire themselves. Like they were in no position to be judging you. Thank you for the hearts on TikTok. All right. So just remember, those who judge are doing the least. Okay. And they are typically judging those who are extraordinarily capable, exceptional even. All right. And that's what you were. But you have to, at this point, allow yourself to know that. Okay. All right, we are going to move on to another one. All right, who is next? Ayana. For what past life did my daughter and I have together? Okay, Ayana and her daughter, were there any past lives together? I do see a sibling connection. I also see what looks like, I thought it was military, but now it looks like fighting the military or fighting the government, fighting the tax man. It's not that you didn't believe in anything political that was going on. You were actually quite political, but there has to be politics done in the right way for it to serve people, or else it's useless. It's tyranny. Okay, so I wouldn't say that was military. It's a different form. It's a different form of military, not militia in this case per se, but it's more like a movement. It's like a group came together. What is the heck is the word I'm looking for? You know, like a group came together and shut down the collectors, the military, prevented them from getting any further with their tyranny. It was also a situation where the two of you seemed to think that whatever was best for you was best for everyone, and that was not necessarily the case. So you weren't entirely in the clear there, all right, karmically, but nonetheless, so you guys worked together, let's say, okay, as allies against government. I'm hearing warfare. Okay, yeah, political. It was political. Now, there's also some business dealings that you both would have been involved in. So what, you know, you can expect in this life with your daughter is possibly, if you guys choose to, that you actually end up working together, that you actually end up building, being able to invest in each other's dreams and projects. And this could be like a nice payout. Say you are investing, of course, in her college or her trainings or whatever she does, you know, once she comes out of that system, if you're running businesses, entrepreneurship, anything like that, she may be alongside you with that. You guys also seem to be sharing trade information or like other investment information, stocks, things like this. So yeah, there's a whole sort of insider trading thing going on here. I also think that you guys were siblings. And this looks like two brothers. It looks like elder brother to younger brother. And she would have been the elder brother, caretaking over you. So this is a bit of a swap. And that would have been the most recent. I'm also hearing Greece. So this would have been in Greece. Yeah, and I'm hearing like 1800s. So a little bit of a trade in positions here where you may notice sometimes she's very protective over you. You may notice she's bossy with you. You may notice she's an old soul and she talks to you like you're a literal child. And you're like, who do you think you are? But it's too funny to get angry at. That's where it's coming from. She was your older brother. Okay. So yeah, a few that I have time to look at today. I'm sure there are more. Usually when I see two, I could find at least like 3 other ones, but you know, at a later time. Okay, enjoy. Very supportive energy. Very nice. A little bit of butting heads, but still nice. Next one up is Mark. Okay, so we're gonna go with Mark. Mark, what is the most important past life situation affecting Mark now? So, you know, I don't want to sugarcoat. This looks romantic. It looks a little devastating also. And it would appear to be some type of attack on like your house, your town in general. But there seems to be a lot of squabbling going on. It's unfortunate that it ends in such violence. But between like you and some other families. If you guys can hear her, she's just tearing up all these papers on the floor. She's eating my homework. She's eating my YouTube members list. That catnip is kicking in. All right. So anyways, sorry. So, you know, this idea here of some people coming in, it looks like swords are involved here and unfortunately attacking members of, you know, like your neighbors, your family, things like this. You seem to have been at quite a distance from your spouse at the time, and you're looking like a male energy, your spouse being a female, and there could have been a bit of an issue with the neck and the head with her, and I'll leave it at that. You did lose her to that, but you also seem very, it's beyond stoic. It's a little almost emotionally detached. And I guess you had to live that way, you know, because things like this would happen. I'm feeling Rome. Even from your children, like just very detached. Like you had a couple kids you were somewhat attached to, but it's like, I don't know, you just treated everybody, you know, kind of like almost like they weren't people, or you didn't want to get too intimate with anyone because I guess life was hard. And in the position that you were in, you were the main protector. You had to enforce that protection, and you didn't want any more emotional disruption to you affecting your ability to do your job well, when you needed to be in like a warrior type of mentality. Okay. You don't need to be sentimental at times like that. I get this. This reminds me a lot of what happens in parent-to-child dynamics when there's like an extreme amount of poverty and things like this. Okay. There's a certain detachment that goes on there. So I think that you could have taken a loss with some of the kids. I think you definitely took a loss here with the wife. And what's happening at this stage in your life is that you're trying to protect. So I would say that if you are involved in a love partnership where you feel an extreme desire to protect, but also a sense of being powerless to do so, and some victimhood, even especially protecting your loved ones from the neck up, let's say, making sure that they are also taking care of their health from the neck up. There is, I want to say, an ability that you had to quickly get there. Unfortunately, it was a bit of a sneak attack. It did happen in the night, approaching 3 a.m., like 2:55 a.m., 2:50 to 2:55 a.m. By 2:58, it was done. And that could be a point where you wake up a lot. You're going to want to do a releasing ceremony with this. You're going to want to thank your past self for your strength, for your ability to protect them as far as you did, as well as you could. You want to do a release here, letting yourself know that in this life you are safe. You are not responsible to protect everyone. That's over, okay? But you are responsible to create deeper, more intimate bonds with children and lovers and friends, okay? Neighbors, family. You're here to learn how to do that safely now. All right. So the next evolution of that whole storyline is that it's okay to be human. That one's kind of dark. That one's dark. All right. It happens. We've all got it. I mean, and we have to look at it this way too. Like, we learn from tragedy the most. We learn from hardship the most. We grow when we go through the fire the most. And the only time that will be wasted is when we choose to bury our heads in the sand and be powerless and not do the work. Okay. Poor Mark. I'm probably never going to hear from Mark again. Okay. Mariana Sausarosa says, thank you, Ivy, for this opportunity. You are so welcome, Mariana. Thank you for being here. All right, Mariana Sausarosa, what past life is affecting her now? Something about breaking your ankle. I'm trying to see what you were doing. It's like you're in a field. I don't think you thought it was a field. It looks like a field to me, but it's like a little uphill. I feel like I'm in Sweden, and to me, it looks like a field. To you, it looked like my house is over there, and I'm out here collecting some things like food. And there seems to be some animals that you were also checking on. You did not have them fenced. You didn't have them gated. They were roaming about. They look, I don't know, kind of like cows, I'm assuming. But you seem to break your ankle at some point. This looks like a snake bite as well. So I'm wondering if that's what caused this. You would have had a bit of an injury. Now, I can't prescribe or diagnose. And in this life, you're going to want to be careful with your joints, with your ankles, anything on the left leg in general, or the left side of the body in general, because when we take an injury to one side of our body, we tend to overcompensate. You would also want to watch then the right hip, the upper shoulder and neck. Okay. It's like you compensated by walking weird. Unfortunately, this situation, even though you were younger, you were a young woman, you weren't able to fully correct it. And it feels like some type of an infection that would have led to problems that lasted. It really honestly doesn't feel much more than a few weeks before you may have developed something like a fever and a problem with the lungs. So it led to other problems. And I think that what you're dealing with in this life is feeling like, I got to go, 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 go. My time is going to be cut short. I have to finish everything yesterday. I don't have time to delegate. I don't have time to accept help. I don't have time to ask for help. There's no time for any of that. If you want to get it right, do it yourself, because you already had that attitude back then, out there doing all that yourself. Like, you could have had help. You didn't want help. So one of the challenges you have in this life is getting over that and like allowing people understand that people may not always do it right. Forget perfectly, but like just even right, they may not. Okay. But it is a bit of a challenge for you to learn how to work with others in that way. And I think that an acceptance is also required at this stage in your life, that you can't push, and then like actually get stuff done. You could push and like do damage to yourself or make yourself vulnerable. Okay. It's an inability to really stay as centered as you need to be. You were always high energy, a million tabs open in your brain at a time, wanting to get onto something better than this project I'm doing, you know, so you're kind of in future energy, which is a little bit anxious, a little bit, you know, kind of hyper. So learning how to be centered, learning how to be rooted and grounded in where you are now. There is also a need here, I feel like a releasing ceremony, maybe smart to do, where you're accepting what happened in that life in regards to, so saying thank you to yourself. And a releasing ceremony, you know, can be as simple as you lighting a candle or you making a list and then releasing it, burning it, you know, cutting it up, tearing it up, dropping it into water, burying it, whatever you want to do, you know, after you blow out the candle, whatever works for you. But a releasing ceremony in regards to the fact that you were cut so short and then you blamed yourself for a lot of things, you know, so you could often struggle in this life with almost like beating yourself up or talking to yourself really harshly, like that was stupid, or how could I let that happen? Watch your own inner dialogue. And again, when we're talking to ourselves like that, you know, we are susceptible to things like not paying attention to where we're walking, having to watch our feet and ankles, having to watch our step more, you know, so something to keep in mind. All right. But I feel like this right now for you is accepting that you are human and not being in such a rush to get to a non-existent finish line. Okay. All right. We're going to move on to another one. Also, for anyone, if like very specific places are coming up, you know, I know we already got like Sweden. I know we got Rome. I know I forget what else came up, but make sure that you allow yourself when tempted to travel to those places. It's a great way for you to reconnect with who you were and even where you were and to sort of release and let go and evolve. Okay. It's amazing. Even if you're just able to do that through like YouTube videos or reading up, you know, on the history of these places, whatever, getting involved in the culture, eating that cuisine. Okay, get in it, get in it. All right, who do we have next? Edgar. Edgar says, any messages about my past lives that would be helpful to know right now? Yes. So, Edgar, what past life is affecting him the most now? You think so? You want to come up? Come on up. Hi. So Edgar, I'm getting teaching with you. You may have been in a religious, I feel like I'm in Spain. You may have been in some type of religious order as a child that was somewhat brutal in the way that it corrected through. I mean, this happened to me in the 80s. A Catholic school. I mean, they throw shit right at your head. Like, but you know, it progressively got less and less so. So you were back at a time when they would hit you hard. I have you being kind of a bad kid, you know, in that you were the class clown, you were deliberately disruptive. Sometimes you were asking for it. It's like you couldn't contain yourself, I'm hearing. I think that at home, you weren't getting very much attention. You may have had a lot of older siblings that you didn't really connect with very well. So you were on your own a lot. And I think sometimes if we can get bad attention, that's better than no attention. And that was the route you took. You were also hilarious. So you would say and do inappropriate things and then get the reaction. It wasn't just like he's getting his hands and your hands were a mess. They would hit you so hard. It feels like it wasn't just nuns teaching, it was men, it was priests, I guess, hitting you so hard from here to here. This is all black and blue, and this wouldn't even be healed. And some of them were hitting you with very thick, like boards. This wouldn't even be healed yet, and you were getting hit again. Now, this was happening because you were getting the reactions that you wanted. You were getting a lot of attention because if you could make someone laugh, you are almost high off of that. It was definitely, at the very least, a dopamine hit. It was an addiction for you. Okay. Long story short, this led you to become somewhat mentored by a couple of these people who saw you as a leader, even though it was because you were being bad, so to speak. And they raised you up to become one of them. They raised you up to become a teacher. You were a little bit of a philosopher, but you seem to have taken over a teacher position, and you were, while you sometimes whacked kids, yourself there, you, for the most part, were kinder. But you were scary, and you would just yell out of nowhere. If you've ever had one of those teachers that would seem chill and everyone, he was kind of down with the people, and then all of a sudden he would just snap like he had enough of because of one kid's behavior, and he was real bipolar type of activity there. So you were scary. But I think that what's happening in this life is that you're looking to take that to the next level. I think you're looking to get away from religion. You're looking to get more into the spiritual aspects of healing. You're looking to tap in more with that philosophy end that you really couldn't explore because you were within a religious order. Feels like a Catholic order. So, what exactly do you want to do with it? This is what I feel you're figuring out for the next 3 years. This could be peaking for you at about 5 years out from now, where you're kind of confronted with the last of the karma from that life. And you could be needing to process more and more as we get closer to all of this. Your desire to be seen, your abandonment wound. Okay. And you could have been born right back into a situation in this life where there were immediate abandonment wounds. So we have to look back at the mother, the father, elders in the family. Did you get the attention that you deserve? And do you feel estranged somewhat from your siblings and things like this? You may also hypercorrect. You may also be like, I can't make a joke. I can't get out of line. I have to watch my throat chakra, So you could have a closed throat chakra because, again, you were a badass kid, but, you may have desires sometimes, too, to get into, I don't know, maybe even being a comedian, or when people get your humor, they really get your humor, There's a lot there that's undeveloped still. All right, moving on to another one. This is for Wellness Sanctuary. Also, I forgot to ask you guys, could everyone please stop and give this video a thumbs up? Drop a comment of any kind. It really does help me out in the algorithm. But also, I would love to hear where you're tuning in from. Okay, so please let me know where you're coming from. Hit that subscription button, and please do share this video. Also, if you want to book a reading of any kind, a party, a psychic fair, or even a past life reading, you can do that up on my website, Ivy Rivera, psychicmedium.com. Wellness Sanctuary. Wellness Sanctuary says, I would like to know what my last lives were and if anything brought forward into this life. Okay, so what is an important past life affecting Wellness Sanctuary at this time? You're coming through as a big, I feel like there's almost like I'm going to have to go with Scotland on this. A big guy. Like a big, hairy, burly, kind of scary, but like a teddy bear type of guy. Feeling like you always had to fight, feeling like you fought for fun, whether it was like wrestling with your siblings, or it was like, getting drunk with your friends, and then all these brawls that were going on all the time. There is this attitude here of, I feel like I'm in the 1700s. There's this attitude here of just wanting to have fun, honestly. You could be this big, scary person, always involved in, protection roles and defending, or you could be the lover that you really wanted to be. Now, you did have a lot of testosterone, so it was kind of a mix of both in your everyday life. I feel like you were alive in a period where things were also mostly peaceful, so you have all this testosterone and there are no major battles to be had. What are you going to do with it? You're going to have a couple beers and punch your buddy in the face and see where that goes. Is that fulfilling enough? I don't know. Let's roll around for a while. It's like always looking for something with an adrenaline rush. I do think that at some point you got into some hunting, and being in touch with nature was something that was really important to you. But you were very humane about the way you did these things. You would have taken up, as you were getting a little bit older, books. God bless you. Goodness. You would have taken up books, learning more about, it feels like, I guess you took it as spirituality. So learning more about also other cultures, okay, history, other cultures. You were very smart in that you saw like numbers and patterns, and there's talk of like astronomy, astrology, even like how things patterned out, how things proved to be true, how things were right. And you had a desire to teach it, but you didn't ever learn enough about one thing or have the credentials, the degrees that were required, because you were this big brawling, like nutty guy, to do that, to be taken seriously in that. So there's a little bit of like a wounded heart there. I think you would have been a great teacher. I think you would have been great at opening up, okay, communication in groups. And what you may be doing in this life now is being called more in your life contract currently, meaning what you came here to do on earth, to get into group conversation, group healings, group dynamics, advocacy even. These are like opportunities for people to come together and think and share, and better themselves, which in turn betters the community. Could there be a psychological aspect to all of this? Today, I think so. So if you're debating, or if you already are in the mental health field in any way, clinical, but I would also say be careful, don't get too deep into clinical, because you have to have this sort of spiritual, energetic, philosophical, astronomical, what's the word for, you know what I mean? Even planetary, like you have to have that element there. That's really what's driving that. Okay. So if you're going to get into clinical, get into it, but like, don't only get into it. Yeah. And being seen, being heard, being comfortable showcasing, that you do have these elder abilities, this mentoring ability, but also this very down to earth nature, and a little bit of wild, untamed energy, that can actually be exactly what the world needs right now. Okay. And you can be different and do incredibly well, or even better than people that have seemed to be the conventional type that belongs in those roles. Okay. You're not a stiff. And I don't really think anyone wants stiff right now anyways. So allow yourself. Okay. Allow yourself to change and evolve and accept it and keep pushing. If you've evolved into something more intellectual, then, you can be seen and understood for that. Let's move on to another one. Manny says he is from, or Manuel says he is from New York. Awesome. I'm in upstate. Curious as to what part you're in. Abby is responding. This is a testimonial to the past life reading she already received. Abby says, thank you, Ivy, coming to you from the Rockies. Awesome. I would love to go. Wellness from Montana. Sweet. Okay. Wow. You are deep in nature. And nature calls you. Nature calls you is giving a testimonial here on the reading that they received tonight. Kind of makes sense in a lot of ways. Glad to have that life done. And no, you didn't scare me away. I love it that you tell it how you see it. It can't be all rainbows and butterflies. No, it cannot. We're not going to get anywhere with that. All right, good. I am glad to hear it. Who do we have next? Let me grab my tissues here. Goodness, what are you doing down there? So cold in here. What you doing? She's laying right on her spray spot. Her catnip spray spot. Okay, rolling around in it. So let's see. This is Manny. Okay. Manny is up next. What past life is affecting Manny now? What's important for Manny to hear? Manny, I have your Akashic Record Guide coming forward. And for those of you who aren't familiar, I have a class up on the website called Meet Your Guides, but you get 5 guides appointed to you when you come to Earth. One of them is your Akashic Record Guide, meaning that's the guide who holds all of your past life information. And as you're tapping into it, you're wrapping up karma, whatever you're about to, they assist you. Okay. So I'm hearing directly from your Akashic on this. So it looks like you had to flee. And I'm trying to see where the heck I am. I mean, I heard Greece and then I heard France. You may have had to move around a bit. This is sad though, because I see beautiful instruments. Like, I don't even know what I'm looking at, honestly, but like these almost, it reminds me a little bit of like a violin, but it's flat. But this was, a while ago. So I feel like I'm in the 1600s, but it's wooden, and it would have been almost like an oval shape, okay, with 2 like knobs on the end. And it was strings. It was just strings. You would play it like this. I don't know. Somebody let me know what this is called, or I've seen something similar in India, but that's not where we are. And then I see what looks like other stringed instruments and, violin type things, all of them being put into the water, and boats. And it almost feels like gondolas or something. So there's this releasing. Not all of these instruments were necessarily yours. Some of them, and there were other possessions, there were like trunks filled with people's, I'm hearing, prized possessions, their most sentimental, and like, artifacts, whatever meant something to them in their life, memorabilia. And they were just being dumped into the water. Now, I think you had to do this because you were assisting other people in like leaving, but it was weighing things down. It was like, I can't move with all this stuff. I can't go and be where I need to be with all this stuff. There seems to be some threat of violence coming up behind you, not literally, but I just mean you're aware of it. And so it was time to go. This has led, but you did fine. I mean, whatever, it's like we recreate. It's what we do. I'm dealing with this right now, leaving America for Scotland, and it's what we do. It's what my ancestors did. My grandmother was a slave. It was like, from place to place to place to place. You run, you hide, you do what you need to. And you get to higher ground because you're not being sentimental, because you're not clutching and refusing to leave, your home, your hometown, these objects, these items, these memories. You're sucking it up if you want to survive, and you're doing what you need to do. And, there was an ability that you had to feel the emotion of the moment and to also put it to the back of your mind so that you could function. This is an extraordinary ability. Most people can't. They either stuff down the emotions forever until it eats them up, or they're so emotional, they're like a deer in the headlights. They just buckle under pressure. They never make a move, So you're the best of both worlds, which is, I'm assuming, why you were assisting others. You got to where you needed to be, and you actually lived a lovely life. But I do feel that in this life currently, who's this, Manny? In this life currently, you may be needing to pull out more creativity, more beauty in art, more, not necessarily with history, but even like the history of art, appreciating things that have been lost, appreciating artifacts even. So we're going back to like ancient civilizations. Okay, I even see the pyramids with you, like appreciating these sort of like lost wonders and being able to also channel any type of grief, loss, and curiosity through musical expression, art of any kind. For you, this could also be writing. Now, I'm not saying you have to go get a bunch of stringed instruments necessarily and start, playing. You could also just be in that sound. But it's an opportunity for you to, even if you're just doing it through like YouTube videos of people playing those instruments, it's an opportunity for you to sort of recoup. And your Akashic keeps showing me the Titanic. If you watch the movie The Titanic with Leonardo DiCaprio, there was a scene in the end, close to the end, near the end, when the ship is going down, but they kept playing. The musicians kept playing. It's almost like that's what this is doing for you in getting back in touch with that hardship and appreciating the beautiful things that were lost. It's stopping and preventing almost like the ship from sinking, okay? Which can suggest that you are energetically, I can't prescribe a diagnosis, but you are energetically, emotionally, even physically at this point needing more of that. All right, so this is a little bit bigger than just like intrigue and interest. This is balancing out your energy properly. All right, that one is definitely interesting. Let's move on to, okay, a testimony here from Wellness Sanctuary. Wellness Sanctuary said, from my burly Scottish past life to current, you were spot on into the current. Love that. Okay, very cool. Well, thank you for that testimony. Yeah, and so, I think that there really isn't anything that could come up about a past life that isn't going to resonate with you guys in some way. And the reason I'm sure you showed up here, for those of you who listen and you're like, it makes sense, but it's hard to explain even how it makes sense. Dive into that, because it's about immersion at this point. And then you'll have people, okay, like Wellness Sanctuary is like, yes, I totally 100% get that. You guys are really going to understand it if it affected a body part, or you have like weird scars or birthmarks, you're reborn with certain people. That is unmistakable. Abby wants me to do one for Mike Hicks. Okay, so we're not doing this for Abby, but we're doing this for Mike Hicks. What past life is currently affecting Mike Hicks? You have all these kids. Oh my God. Are they yours? Are they all yours? I mean, you don't want them to be. I mean, they're, sometimes kids have a way of like finding you when they're in need of a parent, and that's your child. Okay, I call them cosmic kids. These were not all biologically your kids. You definitely don't have any interest in like really dealing with them or having a bunch of kids yourself, but you are coming through as a very tall, I would say like 6'1", maybe, a very tall, leaner guy who is walking through, it feels like a field. You would have been down at a creek, and I guess you were fishing, but I don't know, buckets are involved. So I don't know what exactly. Anyways, you were getting food. And I think that all these kids are following you, and I'm hearing the Grateful Dead song. It's like stay away from something John. What the heck is that song? Stay away from. It was like on the Mississippi River. It was like his mother telling him, stay away from Catfish John, but there's a desire that they have to learn from you. And the fact that you're like just walking, you're like, oh my God, these kids never shut up and they're all behind me. I think some of this is literal. I think some of it is symbolic of the vibe of the time. And you just wanted to like get your fish and your crawfish and whatever else stuff you caught and just like go home. But they weren't done with you yet. They wanted to see what you were going to do with the fish, and they wanted to see how you were going to, you know what I mean? Like what you were going to do once you got back to your house and what you did in like the barn or this shed area. And like, you seem to be into carpentry also. So it's like, how do you make this? And there was some like almost like steel work or iron involved. And it's like you're combining things. So this ultimately leads to, I think in this life, you having to recognize that you're a leader, you're a teacher, you're a speaker, you're a bit of a storyteller for sure. Because no one wants to listen to someone who like can't relay the information properly or is disinteresting like the entire time, you know, is uninteresting. I think it has to be fun. They thought you were fun. They thought you were funny. And it's this image of you now in this life having to give in. I don't know if you've spent a lot of your career behind the scenes or like doing other random things where you weren't really talking constantly to a bunch of people, because it seems like you don't want to again. Here we are again, and you don't want to do this. But it's time. So do it. Okay? Just make sure you're doing it. Now, are you going to be doing it with children? Not necessarily kids, but in this life, it's like people who don't know as much as you, people who aren't as advanced as you, people who need to learn the skills that you have or need to be, you know, taught how to do things better in their life to become more efficient at things. All right. And you should not dismiss that just because it's not something you feel super duper confident in, or it's not really something you want to do, you shouldn't dismiss the fact that it is a calling for you. I see it going incredibly well. All right, let's move on to another one. Thank you. Emmanuel says, thank you, Ivy. Very interesting, along with my Akashic guide. It is. It is. And then talking to your Akashic, this is for everyone. That's a shortcut. All right. So if you want to like not pay me $10 or book a past life reading with me, go talk to your Akashic. They hold all of your past life information. You can talk to your Akashic in such a way where it's like, you know, sort of a progressive dialogue. You want to ask and then wait to receive the answers, but also sit passively sometimes and just let them show you things. I like to have almost like a meditation sort of, where I'll just pull down a movie theater screen and ask my Akashic to show me. And I'm just watching the screen and it'll play out. Okay, like I'm watching a movie and I'm like, there it is. That makes sense to me. I need a visual. All right. And Manny says, from upstate Victor, New York, 15 minutes from Canandaigua. Okay, very cool. It's beautiful out here. Just a little cold. I think we're at negative. I don't even know what today. I stopped looking. Dear Ivy. Okay. I just had a past life reading from you, and you were spot on in my current life. I was the wellness sanctuary from Montana, always. I heard you say everyone is 5 guides. One is Akashic. And I thought you said you could do that and find out on your website. And I've looked, but I do not see it anywhere on your website to see who my 5 guides are. Your help in this would be greatly appreciated. Okay. So what I said was that I have a class up on my website. And so you're going to go under classes. You're going to have to click on classes. Or you can go to like the Ivy League Psychic Academy and it'll pull that down too. Or you just put it in the search bar. So it's called Meet Your Guides. Okay, Meet Your Guides. Now, Meet Your Guides, it's available through video download, but I'm also going to be reteaching it in, I think, March or April. So if you want to join live, you can do that as well. And so Meet Your Guides is going to break down the 5 different guides that are appointed to you when you come to Earth. Yes, one of them being your Akashic. It's going to break down the different languages that they speak and how to understand that guides have sort of their own, okay, way of communicating. Absolutely. And we should know our guides. Absolutely. Thank you for that question. Okay, thank you, Christina. Okay, is Christina next? Or Christina said thank you. You're welcome, Christina. I've got so many names coming through as thank yous that don't match my list, so I'm not sure what's going on, but you are very welcome. All right, Shauna Dempsey, and thank you everyone for being here. All right, Shauna Dempsey. Shauna, what's the most important past life that's affecting her now? Ooh. Damn, woman. You know, you seem to be kicking down doors. You seem to be, I heard, taking names and kicking ass. You are very you remind me of like an Amazon woman. There were fires also. This looks like almost like right around Victorian times or right before Victorian times. You know, there were a lot of fires with the houses because, well, they didn't have fire stations and firefighters necessarily set up yet. And the houses were built too freaking close so that there was no time. If one house went down, what they would do, I mean, sometimes you couldn't salvage it, is you would take blankets and buckets of water and whatever you could and go dunk them in the river, and then you would throw them on the next house over to stop it. Wherever the wind was going, you would take care of that house instead of trying to salvage things over here because it was a done deal. This was very stressful. It was very always happening at night. It was very labor intensive on your body and your lungs and your mental state, of course. Although I think you love it. I think you loved the rush. I think you still love the rush. You love an adrenaline rush. You love a challenge. Okay. You love something, whether it's like working out or weightlifting or running or, you know what I mean? I think you love being challenged in, that way, but it seems as though, what is it, mama? I love you. You want to come up? You can come up. It seems as though you were very much the protector. So you are a large female who was stronger. It seems like stronger than most of the males that were there or any of the males that were there. You were seen as a leader in the community. And you were the type of person who, and I feel like I'm in Switzerland. But it seems like you were, how do I want to say this? You were sort of unable to let your guard down and be vulnerable. You reached a point in life where you were unable or unwilling, let's say it that way, because everyone is able if you work at it hard enough. And that's probably going to end up being the point here, I assume. But you were unwilling to let your guard down. You were unwilling to be taken care of. You were unwilling to ask for things. And it may have led to your, I'm hearing demise. I don't think it was quite that bad, but it was more like, ow, no, Ezzy, no. It was, you know, you having to deal with some health issues, lungs and bones mostly, but not being able to ask for what you needed and finding also that people weren't as willing to give back to you as you gave to them. So in this life, couple different things. Be careful putting out other people's fires. Be careful overreaching and stretching yourself so thin with a bunch of people who aren't going to give jack back, okay? Like, you're not going to get anything out of these people. Dump them like a ton of bricks and do it fast. Cutthroat, goodbye, door closed. If you see that there is a good cause and you feel passionate about that cause, thank you for the hearts on TikTok. By all means, feed it because it will also feed you. But don't be wasting your energy on every fire that breaks out. Okay, unless you are doing it with a group of people that would take care of your house if it were on fire, you know? Yeah, I think that's what you need to learn right now. It's a big wake up call. And you also seem to be needing to be open and willing to get intimate, meaning be vulnerable. Okay, with certain people, you do feel not necessarily that you could like trust in every way, shape, and form and for the rest of your life and forever and ever, amen. But like enough, if it's enough, and it's going to be good for you, then I think you need to be letting more of that in. Okay, creating more of that intimacy through vulnerability. All right, we're going to move on to another one. So this is for Mindy. Okay, Mindy, what past life is affecting you now? Are you staring at me like you're ready to cut me up? Are you going to be nice? Please be nice. You can come sit. All right, Mindy, what past life is affecting Mindy? Huh. It feels a little bit like you being repeatedly silenced. So I see a hand going over your mouth and then it's not there. And then I see a hand going over your mouth and then you're fine and you're feeling a little more regulated. And then here it comes again until you reach a point where you're very dysregulated full time. And it looks like this would have been coming from, you could say patriarchal order, but very specifically your father. And then what appears to be a love partner or the threat of a spouse. Okay, so there's this this life that you would have had, female, if that wasn't stated already, like where you were being told not to speak. You weren't allowed to speak. You weren't allowed to be heard. I have to fix, let me just try. Oh, I think I gave myself way too much credit. I'm gonna like pull my back. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna have to, there's this puzzle that pops up on oh my God, like I can't do this today. How sad. Okay, there's a puzzle that pops up on TikTok at some point that forces you to do it, and apparently I'm not skilled enough today. So anyhow, this idea here that you really couldn't, that you really, if you spoke, if you were allowed to speak, you weren't allowed to be heard. So that can mean that behind closed doors, you were a little more free to express yourself, your ideas, and even laugh and engage with other people. But it's almost making it worse so that when outsiders were around, you would be so silenced so harshly and literally shamed for speaking at all. And you weren't saying anything wrong. Okay. You were just trying to have like normal conversations, but it's this attitude of like a woman doesn't speak, sort of like children, children are to be seen, not heard. And understanding that this like incoming threat of marriage was really going to be the final nail in the coffin that officially silenced you if you weren't paired up properly. And unfortunately, I don't feel like you were paired up properly. So you weren't being paranoid. You were right. You knew it was going to go bad. And long story short, where you are now, your Akashic keeps showing it like ripping off the duct tape, like ripping off the silencer. Okay. You are at a point now where you are learning to speak your truth, but in some very specific ways where it's like, I want to tell this story, share this lesson that I learned. I want to teach this thing. I want to tell this joke. I don't want to limit myself right now in this conversation in any way. I want to be authentically myself, whether it's flying your freak flag or, it's a response you wouldn't have normally given to something that just came up in conversation, like whatever it is. you're learning to clear your throat chakra because you weren't allowed to back then. And you could feel that at this stage in your life, if you look back to childhood, you can see all the ways that you were shut down, and you may have been born sort of right back into that. But also, you may feel this very intensely from women in this life as much or even worse as you did from men in that life. And so you're having to examine the other side of it, the flip of the coin, you know, because you're the same gender as your oppressor. And I think what you're doing is making sure that if you start to feel like you're gonna have to be hesitant about expressing yourself, you're clocking which women you feel that around. Okay, because you already know you're gonna feel it around men, but like which women make you feel that way? I call them foot soldiers for the patriarchy, you know? So this is interesting. Or they're jealous of you. Could be some jealousy there as well. All right. More speaking, more laughter, more singing, more joy. Oh, love it. Love it. All right, let's move on to another one. And we are at, where are we? Okay, good. If you guys have not already done so, what you're going to be doing tonight is dropping your $10 donation. Diana, my beautiful producer, is posting that in the comment section if you're on Instagram or TikTok. And then you can ask a specific question about your past lives, or, you know, who you're with now, what you're doing now. Literally anything goes. And I can look into something specific, or you could leave it open-ended. And then I will tell you whatever I feel is most important for you to hear at this time, that is stemming from a previous life. And you guys can always book this privately on my website, ivyriverapsychicmedium.com. Diana, who's next? Are we just waiting? Okay. So this is Josie. Josie says, hi, Ivy. I'm very curious if I knew Greg K, the man I have feelings for, but is not available in a past lifetime. And if so, what info can you give me? Is there a contract? Okay. Is there a contract? Little bit, but it's karmic. So for those of you who followed me for a while, you know what I say about karmics. Get in and get out. Okay. It's not meant to be anything more than what it is. And it is at the base debt owed. So it's lessons, you know, it's growth potential. So be careful there. But yes, I do feel like you knew him in a previous life. He also seems unavailable in the previous life. But he's coming through as the feminine energy and you as the masculine energy. Unavailable because it's like, she didn't talk. She didn't talk. I feel like, where am I? England? Ew, it's so dirty. I'm not going to complain about where I live right now. It's dirty. It's cold. Everything's wet. Like every day it's wet, it's gray, it's gross. It's like you had eyes on her, but it's like you were working. Let's say this is some type of I mean, it kind of feels a bit like a village where in the middle, maybe people were selling things. There were like markets, people were vending, you were making things. You seem to be making things with your hands. It's like leather and I don't know, iron or something, maybe for like horses. And she's walking always from behind you to the front and then to the left. Always, always, always. There's some kind of a shop. There's some type of a store over here. It's like a bakery and something else she's hitting up over here and then taking it back. She must live this way. But she seems to stay back there a lot. Like she either knows the owners or that's family owned. I think it's in her family. So her family was like in business and she had long hair. long, like lighter hair, but it's like you're trying to talk to her, trying to get her attention, and she's just like, she doesn't speak. She's like mute, you know? So the idea of her not being available is because of, I think, the expectations of her family. And she seems to not want to get married also. And I think she may pull that off. I think she may have, it's almost like, I don't want to deal with, it's like, I don't want to deal with men because it's going to trap me. It's going to inhibit me. She's silent. Also in the way that like she doesn't really socialize. So this isn't the type of girl who would go out. So where are you going to talk to her? How are you going to talk to her? Unless you're stopping your work and you're cutting our, you know what I mean? You're stopping her in the street. It's like it can't flow. There's no flow. She's unavailable. And I think ultimately you watched from afar. And then she seems to have like left because she had money. So that's that. But I think that this relationship in this life is feeling very karmic to me. And the contract there is going to be one where you have to learn how to, I feel like, respect the relationship, appreciate what, honor the contract in what you're supposed to get out of the communication and the relationship, including the lessons, whether they're hard or, you know, they're feeling a little bit more, you know, romantic or fun or zesty. You have to accept them for what they are and try not to force it to be more than what it is, because that starts to cause grief. And what feels like low self-esteem or defeatism, okay, even, or like not looking at other people. Like, I don't understand why you didn't just like go date other people. Like, plenty of fish in the sea. There wasn't a population problem. There were other people. There were other people even interested in you. You just seem to not, it's like the blinders on a horse, which is interesting because isn't that what you were making? I feel like it's very symbolic, okay, of closing yourself off to have, to live in a bit of an illusion instead of real life. Okay. And what's the word I'm looking for, where we can become, you know, really attracted to someone or almost obsessed with someone, but we really don't know a whole heck of a lot, okay, about who they truly are. Limerence. Okay. Just be careful. Next one up is Christina Hernandez. Christina Hernandez. Okay. Christina Hernandez, what past life is affecting you now? It was like I couldn't even move it. I feel as though you are feeling in this life that you are a bit silenced, not necessarily because society is silencing you, but because you're silencing yourself. You're cutting yourself off. It feels like every time you have something really important you want to say, or if you're feeling very, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, passionate about something. If you are going through an opportunity where you feel a little fire in the belly, you're like, I want to do this thing, but I'm going to have to be exposed. If I do it, people are going to see me, people are going to hear me. And then you shoot it down, you know, you shoot yourself down. It's stemming from, in part, a previous life where you, I don't like these. I can't prescribe a diagnose. Okay. But I don't want to sugarcoat. It looks like you drowned, and you drowned off of a boat. Like you fell off of a boat. Maybe you were even pushed off of this boat. This boat seems to have hit something though. Okay. Like a rock. And it seems like you're going off the boat, and it didn't necessarily have to happen that way. Could you stop cutting me up, please? I love you. It didn't have to happen that way necessarily, but it's almost like you didn't want to scream. You didn't want to say no. I think you didn't even want to get on the boat, but it's like you didn't speak up. Here's something. Stop it now. That's nasty. Now, there are a million different ways to speak. There are a bunch of ways to communicate. And when we are working on clearing our throat chakra, it isn't just about what we say. It's about what we don't say. It's about what we show up for, what we won't entertain, the way we dress, the way we carry ourselves, our body language, right? All the things. Stop it. And I think that what you're going through right now is letting go of self-blame, because in this situation, it feels like where you drown. There you go. Esmeralda Marie Rivera, everybody. Finally, that's all you had to do. In the situation where you drowned, there was a lot of blame, almost like you were saying, you know, that was stupid, or I'm stupid, or I can't believe that happened, or I can't believe this is happening. And still, even in those moments, not really wanting to like scream or call out for help. Also not feeling confident that even if you did, anyone would come, which tells me you had some suspicious characters, you know, with you in that situation, which came up earlier. So you could be feeling that I want you to stop that, Ezzy. Stop. Nasty. You could be feeling that it's not just about not speaking your truth in this life, but it's also not following your gut intuition, because you shouldn't have been on that boat. You knew you shouldn't have been on that boat. There were other ways you could have gotten to where you needed to be. It feels a little coerced or pushed. And you have to own that in this life, that you've done that to yourself in certain circumstances where you're, you know, selling yourself short. You're being double-minded on your intuition and instead going with like your emotion or your logic, or you're pushing yourself too hard. Okay. And, you are also needing to be careful the company you keep. Let's face it, because something is wrong here. That looks really off to me, really off. And I could see who did it, but, you know, trying to figure out who that is. Be careful dealing with men in your life who seem to be like friends or brother types, or like, you know, you're getting involved with them if you get involved with men romantically. Okay. And they seem very innocent, very talkative, very chatty, very always like there to help, very always kind of, no. You know what I mean? There's a sense with people like this that they're hustling for something. You don't always know what, but they're hustling. You can feel hustle energy. Okay. And be careful with some of your your closest girlfriends. Be careful. Yeah, you're reorganizing a bit. Okay. Finding your voice, reestablishing it. Reestablishing your power as well, your judgment. And it's funny because it's been coming up a lot in readings this week. Judgment, you know, a lot of my clients have said to me, well, you know, I don't be judgmental. I'm like, you want to stay alive, don't you? That's discernment. If you don't want to call it judgment, then don't, but it's discernment. Okay. We survive bypassing judgment on people. And a lot of it is just simply enough based on their patterns. Doesn't have to happen directly to you. Watch people's patterns, you know. What is this? Even you rewatch it. Who's next? Yeah, you guys can go back and rewatch this once it's published on YouTube at AskIvy the Medium. And I try to also put it on my Instagram, but it doesn't always let me save it. So I'm not sure where that's going to go. All right. What's the next one we have here? Thank you. This is Edgar. Oh, also, I forgot to tell you guys, this is on. So if you want to get another one, you can get another one. If I'm repeating myself, then I apologize. I have psychic amnesia, so I won't remember that. But if you have a bunch of past lives affecting you, something else will probably come up. But I can't promise. I don't know. Edgar wants to know, could I please get messages about my past life with Jennifer that would be helpful to know for my current life? Okay, so Edgar wants to know if there was a past life with Jennifer. She seems to be of what looks like a bunch of, maybe this is a schoolhouse of some kind. I don't think these are all her children. However, and there is like the death of her husband, I'm assuming. It's like, I'm a widow, but like, I don't miss him. You know, that type of energy. Yeah, like she's just picking up where, things left off. I mean, it also left her financially stable. So she's in a good place. She's pretty happy with her life. I don't think she's interested in anything romantic again. I hear her thinking it's a slippery slope to probably entrapment and a bunch of other things that aren't necessary because she's stable with her, again, with her finances, with her work, and with the trajectory of where all of that, can go. She has a bunch of ideas too she hasn't tapped into. She's not untapped. She's like making plans for her future. Everything is me. Everything with her is like very, even though I see her teaching and dealing with all these kids, it's like I give what I know is good to give. I help the community. I am, a leader here, and I'm a good person for doing that. I did my part. Okay. I gave. And then it's like the rest is me 100% of the time. She's not going to be taking that home to a bunch of kids. She's not going to be taking it home to a husband. She's not going to be overexerting herself. The rest is me. What can I do for me? Kudos, So in with, I think, is kind of what happened. It can be someone who isn't looking, isn't available. You guys seem to have a friendship, is what it looks like. And there were some business deals going on here. So not just in the sense that like you would bring her things and then like she would pay you and there would be business where she was placing additional orders and stuff, but also you guys seem to have collectively at times worked with all of these kids who I'm assuming are like students of some kind. And that's nice. Okay, that's nice. But there is a sense here of, in this life, needing to get back to the work itself and finish up some tasks there. So there could end up being opportunities for you guys to do, contracts together, projects together, leadership, like, collaboration and leadership. I think that where things can get a little bit sticky in the friendship, if you're wanting something more romantic, is that she seems to be this close to being done with romantic partners again in this life. So that could be a bit of a holdup. So appreciate the contract for what it is and focus on the work, because there is work and growth potential here. Okay, whenever I'm seeing contracts, and I mean literal contracts, I'm not talking about like past life contracts and universal cosmic contract. I mean like a work contract, this is big money potentially, but this is like long-term productivity. There's a lot that can happen here. So yeah, work and business partners. And let's move on to another one. Chris Hernandez. And I guess this is like she's responding. She already got her reading. She said, "Hi, I'm sorry I went back and I couldn't get the beginning of my reading. It started to glitch and then it went mute. Did anyone else hear the sound go out? Diana, did we lose sound?" I'm not going to reiterate anything. Not that I could. I mean, I would have to go back and see. Okay. Are you saying I have to redo that entire reading? Yeah, I want to hear it from production, because anyone could have any type of like glitch in their internet, and that's not something I can handle. Okay. So you're saying, Diana, you're saying I don't need to redo it, that it's not our glitch? Is that accurate? I do not need to redo it? Just say yes or no. Yes, I need to redo it. Oh, I need to redo it. Okay. I don't know. I don't know if I can. Christina Hernandez. We'll see what comes up. Look, I have, again, you guys, I have what I call psychic amnesia. I don't remember things once I say it. I don't remember clients. I don't remember anything really. So we'll see what comes up here. Okay. Did anyone else have a glitch or hear a glitch? I would love to hear from anyone else. Like, I want to make sure I'm not having problems. I have a message. Okay, we got like people all over the place. Okay. Wonder why. Wonder what is happening here. Okay, so let's just be careful. Diana, just please make sure whatever's going on with your internet, that like you're the only one on it. Okay, if you can manage that. I am here. I'm the only one on it here on my end, so I can't improve it anymore than where it already is. Okay, so let's go ahead and redo. Okay, well, thank you for confirming too. I mean, if you guys feel like you have no idea, you can't piece together what I said, let me know and I'll go in and I'll pull something else. But if you get the gist of it, you were able to piece together what had cut out, then I'm not going to redo those. Okay, but my understanding from Christina is that she has no clue what I said. She can't piece it together. Okay, so I will go ahead and redo that one. Okay. So Christina, what is important for Christina to know? You know, Christina, when I'm going over here with you, what I'm getting is that you are working on your voice. Ooh, and a deaf in the left. All right. So you're being told, sometimes even warned, I want to say, through mediumship. Mediumship is a big thing with you in this life. It was in your previous life as well, where you were being told that you should be careful. Okay, you should be careful who you talk to, how you use your voice. You may not have listened. And that's what happens when I say we go deaf in the left. We get a tinnitus or like a ringing or a frequency so harsh, it can literally make you go deaf, temporarily, of course, but it's intense with you, very intense. And it can signify that in a previous life, you weren't listening. You weren't listening to spirits that were coming through, trying to guide you about who you were talking to, what you were supposed to be, maybe saying as well. And you seem to be very, when I look back at you in the previous life, you seem to be very like self-conscious. It's almost like I should say this, but it's like you pull back and you decide I'm not going to say it at all. Sometimes you're like, I should say this, but by the time you're done performing it in your head, it's over. The moment is gone. It's too late. The people are gone. We're on to something else. It's not fast enough, you know? So there's no fluidity there. And I'm not saying that in this life you need to be like reckless with your speech and like a maniac and unhinged and just like, I know a bunch of people just run at the mouth, you know, all the time. Like, we don't have to go there, but can we find an in between? Where's the balance? How can we progress from not saying anything or not saying, you know, what we should have fast enough into, you know, how can we take that, you know, into some logical practice here in this life? I do think that you would have been dealing with some people in your previous life that look very suspicious to me. They appear to be stealing things from town and they are smooth talkers. They may have roped you into some situations where you were vulnerable and it feels like they may have attacked. All right. So be careful the company you keep, be careful, and make sure you're following your gut intuition. Make sure you're listening to spirit. Make sure you are speaking your truth. Okay. So that also means that if you ever find yourself in a situation where you want to say no in this life right now, like, you know what I mean? I want to say no. You don't know is a complete answer. Okay. You don't need to explain what you're feeling. You don't need to have proof of what you're feeling. You just know that you don't want to engage. Okay. And you need to get stronger and faster about saying and doing that. Okay. So that's the gist of the message that I'm getting here with this. And yeah, don't feel bad about that. I'm sorry. I don't know why the internet is cutting out. So, you know, hopefully it's not causing too many problems. Okay, we are going to move on. Yes, you're very welcome, Christina. We're going to move on to Love and Beloved. Love and Beloved says, thank you, Ivy. The reading to free my voice is validating to me. Okay, so we're getting a couple of those times. I have to say that's sounding like a collective message on the throat chakra for people. So if someone else can take that message, take it. The reading to free my voice is validating to me and my healing to speak my truth. Jokes, joy, advocacy for others. Amazing that you see my past silencers so well. Duct tape is real. Yeah, duct tape is real, isn't it? Yeah. So we also and thank you for that testimony, but we want to be very careful when we see people from our past lives that are up to some shady-ish. We want to immediately figure out who they are in this life, because we just recycle with these same clowns. Okay. All right, we're going to move on to another one. CJG says, what natural gifts did I bring into this life from past lives? Natural gifts. Okay. I love that question. I love that question for you. I love that question for you. So I see a lot of, what was that? I see a lot of leadership. All right. So you seem to, I have you grabbing the mic, and that's significant in a couple different ways, because you may find that in this life, you were able to go into any situation, system, structure, even ones you haven't been in before. And you have really, I don't want to say no business being there, but you certainly are like new or inexperienced, and what you know is incomparable, right? Like you, are low man on the totem pole, but you go in and you revolutionize this space. You go in and you grab the mic. You go in and you have people shaking in their boots a little bit. It's like, oh shit, she's here. Okay, she's here. She's going to take over things. Now, this could also be a bunch of situations where you're offered positions because they know you're going to do that. You may not even know you're going to do that. You may not even see yourself that way, but people are hiring you for that. They know you're going to be good at doing that. So there's this sense here of being able to take on leadership with no previous education, teaching experience, even in certain situations, and really nail it. Okay, you hit the ground running, you run with it. And I'm seeing systems burning down, which is symbolic of cleansing and like Phoenix rising from the ashes. Okay, so rebuilding them better. This is also part of the engineer's mind. So when I talk about the engineer's mind, I'm talking about understanding how systems fit together. So this could make you somewhat like mechanically or technologically inclined, musically inclined, but it's also systems of people and like maybe not organization skills in itself, but understanding how to categorize everything, how to see patterns, how to understand where the highs and lows are, and renegotiate everything in such a way where it works. Okay, so that's the engineer's mind. That's natural. You've been reborn with that ability, but the leadership and this idea of sort of, you know, taking over anywhere you walk into is coming from a past life where you would have been in what feels almost like a king position, a high leadership position. So you were ruling quite a lot of people. I don't think you were literally a king, but I do think that you lived like a king. And, you know, this was pretty political. So you were, although it seems like you got that from birth, like you didn't earn it. And then nobody voted for it. I mean, it's, yeah, anyways, you know, you're in a position there where you did well. You may have had people ruling before you who were sloppy. And they didn't really care. They didn't care about the people. And when you took the seat, it was like, I am going to do what's good for people to keep their energy levels up, to keep them fed, to keep them happy enough and elevated enough that they would never try to overturn me, that they would never try to throw me, they would never go against me. And that's smart. You don't have to give people a lot. You just have to not be a gigantic a-hole, you know, when you're in a position of power. Like, yeah, just being decent, you know. Our government could learn a lot, right? So there's this ability that you had to lead, and it wasn't lead with an iron fist or lead through tyranny. You know, it was very much like everything works better, okay, when we're all doing well. And because people contributed a lot, it's sort of the same idea of like taking their taxes or taking their labor and giving them back what they rightfully deserve. I do think you were shortchanging people a little bit, okay, but not a lot. And that could be something that you're dealing with in this life, is realizing the healthy balance. Like, you may have a temptation to overgive to people to compensate for that karmic debt. To how do I want to say this? You need to figure out currently in your life what is the right balance in reciprocity. And that means that you only give to people what they have already paid to get, right? Like our government system, like if you're paying all these taxes, you expect to get something back out of it, or else I'm not being represented, right? So what does that look like for you? You know, in I want to say your personal relationships, your work environment, and your decisions around money. I also think that one of the other abilities that you have here is to be, I heard compliant, but that's not at all what I was going to say. To be very, what is this? Okay. It's very understanding, you know, to be able to understand people's positions in a humanitarian, empathetic, you know, manner, not necessarily always like rule in their favor, you know. And this is, I feel like, a different past life I'm talking about here. But to understand when someone deserves a little something extra, a little leeway. And you may have been at that time some type of like teacher, leader, educator. And I think that you would have had favorites in that, where maybe you gave them a little too much leeway. Okay. So again, be careful with that, because then you're enabling people. But it made you a strong teacher, communicator, when you were working with these people that would have otherwise been cut off. You know, other teachers may have been harsh with them, or they may have dropped out. You know, they may have quit. They may have been like, I can't do this. This is too much stress. You have a way of understanding, not necessarily that they like earned it and they deserve it, but like giving grace, a little grace over here, because you intuitively felt like, you know, you needed to, and they showed some promise, or hopefully they will. So I think that's another. I think if you start combining these abilities that you have, there's a ridiculous amount of leadership potential there. And it's really going to only be drained and stopped if you are overgiving where you shouldn't. Okay. Interesting. Let's go on to another one. Okay. Another one for Mindy. We already did Mindy. Is this a second one for Mindy? I just want to make sure. Oh, this is a different Mindy? Okay. All right. So I just want to make sure they understand who's getting what reading. Okay. So if we got like a bunch of people coming in with the same name, we need to somehow let them know. All right. Mindy Garcia. Okay. Another Mindy. Okay. Mindy Garcia. Mindy Garcia. What am I getting for you? What is relevant for Mindy Garcia to know about her life now connected to past life? Who is this? You seem to have gotten, you seem to have gotten married, and it feels as though you were feeling trapped, but you didn't really fully understand maybe how serious the situation was, or you didn't understand what the person was capable of. And you're very much like living in la la land. Like the whole, thank you for the hearts on TikTok. The whole marriage, you're just kind of like, I'm cooking, I'm taking care of things, take care of the house, take care of the kids, and meeting up with family. I'm talking with people. It's like da 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 da. Did you feel like this person was abusive? Sure. Did you feel like they were sometimes a little nuts? Yeah. But you didn't, I think in the context of the society at the time, it didn't seem like anything you should really worry about or complain about. Like it almost seems normal to a degree, but it wasn't normal. It wasn't, let's put it this way. When someone shows you who they are, they show you that they're unhinged. That is an immediate, like, I need to come up with an escape route on this situation, because it is a ticking time bomb. It's a matter of time before they do something to you that could either end you, or you're not going to be able to get out of, or it's going to be irreversible damage. It's going to be a big problem. And so I think that's one of the things that you're looking at in this life. Okay. This scary looking, I mean, he seems dumb as a box of rocks though, really. You could have outsmarted him if you weren't so busy like da 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 da, nothing is wrong, but it's like, you at this point in your life now, you need to look at people. I don't care if they're family, I don't care if they're friends that you've known since elementary school, I don't care if it's a spouse, I don't care if it's your own child, I don't care who it is. If you have people around you who are unhinged, you need to be faster at your cutoff game, because you seem to feel obligated to stay in that situation because of like the contract there, or whether it be marital, but in this life, it could be that you feel obligated to deal with people because there's some type of a contract there. So again, family, friends, romantic partners, you have agreed to be there with them. You have invested in that relationship, and you seem to have really high hopes that you'll get back out of a relationship that you've been investing in. You seem to have in this life really high hopes that someone who is acting poorly is being neglectful, or they are being abusive in any way. You hope that they will get better, because they're certainly capable of it. They have every tool available to them to do so. They have everything available to become better people. But you don't always seem to understand fast enough that people are horrible because they want to be. That's a choice. They choose it over and over again over the course of their day a million times. They constantly choose a low vibration over a high vibration. And so the only path for them is law of attraction, because that's all we can ever have, where they're going to attract more of that negativity. And it's like gum on the bottom of your shoe. Like you're getting all the negative consequences from that. Okay. I call it negative karmic kickback. So be careful the company you keep. Don't give free passes to people just because everyone else is tolerating it around you, or it doesn't seem that abnormal. Okay. Pay more mind to the way people show you, tell you who they really are, and make adjustments immediately. Okay. We don't wait or hope for improvement immediately. Definitely some, I want to say, revisitation in this life for you with these issues, with those in your inner closest circle. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to another one. CJG, is this just a little bit of a testimonial? She already received her reading. So she said, wow, I work in compliance now. Okay. I am a compliance manager. I am so intrigued with that reading. Thank you. You are very welcome. I'll have to go back and listen. That's nuts. It's like you can't make this stuff up. It's like I'm psychic or something. What's written is written, and you cannot erase it. All right, we're going to move on to another one here. This is Jennifer Barone. Okay, so just whatever is coming through for Jennifer. Jennifer Barone. What is important for Jennifer to hear at this time? I have you, this is a little disturbing, honestly. I have you running with dogs. I have you running with dogs. I'm trying to figure out if these are your dogs. I have you running with dogs, and there's a question of loyalty, you know, with these dogs and with your running in itself, because it's like you left something behind. This feels like a slave owner situation, and I'm sorry, and I really how do I want to say that? These particular ones can be hard to hear, but you need to know that wherever there is the most amount of challenges, there's also the potential for greatest prosperity. Okay, so keep that in mind. But you appear to be a slave running, and there are dogs that are actually supporting you in escaping. And I feel like there's some question about other dogs. Like you're worried, will these dogs fight with other dogs, or are there going to be other dogs that would attack me? Are there other dogs that are basically going to be set loose on me? And what will that look like if that happens? Now you're thinking all this while you're running. Okay. So there's not a whole lot of like, plus there's nothing you could do about it. I mean, honestly, I think you're mentally preparing, and you're trying to come up with plan A, B, C, D, E. Like, how is this going to go? How can I make it to where I'm trying to be? And that's really hard too, because I don't know where you think you're going exactly. You may not know, but you're trying to hit water. You're trying to hit some like brush of land, and then it's whatever's on the other side of that and over to the right. There seem to be people over there, like people, like hiding, waiting. So clearly you have gotten out, and you are, you're like a very muscular, you're a muscular, black man, but you're not very big. You're not very wide. It looks like you're probably like 5'9" ish. And you could be dealing in this life with some, I can't prescribe a diagnosis, but some foot injuries. You have to be careful with your feet. Plantar fasciitis, is that what it's called? The bottom of your feet, especially the tendons. Be careful, okay, in general, how well you take care of your feet, your ankles, your legs, and the right arm, and the wrist. Okay, the wrist going up into the hand. So from the elbow to the wrist. Now, this could also feel like something like carpal tunnel, or you could have scars in these places, birthmarks in these places, previous injuries randomly in those places. That's something that tends to happen. Also, the left side, you seem to get hit with something at some point. Okay, but I would just be careful for this area. The left side and any organs, okay, in that area. But I think that ultimately you're looking at loyalty in a lot of different ways, not just through these dogs, but also with like the people who you are hoping, you believe they're over there waiting and would be able to help you. There's also a question of loyalty with your slave owner, because they certainly have a strong sense that you need to be loyal to them, that they, essentially own you, that you're breaking loyalty. So loyalty. Okay. A million different conversations about it. What does that mean in this life and for you right now? Well, you are in a period of time where you need to be examining what is giving back to you, where you belong, who you belong with, and where you need to run. Where you need to just cut your losses, take a chance, go off on your own, because you're never really alone, okay? In like new beginnings, and leaving old systems of any kind, you're never really alone. You've always got, well, like these dogs. Who would have expected these dogs to go with you? I don't even think you wanted these dogs to go with you, but like 3 of them went with you. They like you, you know? Um, you always have spirit, you always have the universe, you always have aspects of yourself that come into a position of power and fluidity once you move, okay, out of a system that isn't working. So being willing to take those risks is sort of where you are now. There's also a lot of unresolved rage, kind of anger, that could be brewing in you right now, whether it's like coming out as righteous anger over crooked systems that entrap people, enslave people, abuse people. This could be anger that's bubbling out and you're like, I don't know where this is coming from, but I am like pissed off. Like I am a bitch today. Like I pity the fool. You know, if it's coming out, it's coming out. You know, let it out. As he attacks me. You understand. Mwah. She'll kill anything that crosses her path. Come on, you want to come up here? Just don't scratch, okay? I'm getting bullied by this cat today. Let it out, process it, and also process how anger that goes unchecked, it will brew in the body, the mind, the energy, okay, and manifest into toxic things. What can you release with that? Okay. And again, I can't prescribe a diagnose, but there does seem to be a lot of buildup here. Ultimately, you got to where you needed to be. You just always felt like your freaking battles were never done. It was like, okay, I got here and now here's a new shitstorm. Here's another list of crap I'm going to have to deal with. Like, how much more can we put onto this pile? You know, it's like in this life you may feel, and you may have been born into it, where you're like, I'm freaking exhausted. Like, when do I just get a good day? When do I get a break? When does a cycle end? You know, but you have to break more systems. You have to break more cycles as well. So own that. But I think you're getting to a place. I mean, you had a full life, but you also had to constantly deal with things, you know, and I think accepting some of that is also key in this, is not wanting for things to be different, not wanting for life to necessarily be easier, but understanding that, you know, you are at a place of maturity where you can embrace that and understand that that's part of life, and just keep asking, what are the lessons? Where's the growth? What is the point? How can I alchemize this from pain to power? Constantly. That's the whole point of being here. Okay. Which is something I think you didn't do. All right, back then. Also, all eyes are on you. So people are watching to see whether or not you do this, and they're going to learn from what you do with it. All right, we're going to move on to another one. This is for Kim Elizabeth. Okay, open-ended for Kim. Kim Elizabeth, what past life is affecting her right now? What is important for her to know? Shady people, shifty people, bunch of them over here. In your past, you may have had some money in your past life, and it looks like this was, maybe your father was into like medicine, pharmaceuticals, remedies, okay, and like herbs and things like this, but also like surgeries and stuff. I think he was a little out of his element, but he did it, and he was really passionate about that. I think he made a lot of money, and it wasn't just money in like cash. It was people being indebted to him, and he was good at trade. So it was like, okay, you know, your kid is sick, your kid is the fever, or, you know, your wife is going through this, or your husband needs to have this body part cut off, or this surgery, or whatever, you know, you can't possibly afford this thing. I will, you know, you can give me this business, you know, for the next, whatever, 10, 15 years. That put you as the child in a significant position of power. And your mother also seemed fairly wealthy, but this was like, it feels more like inherited wealth. And she was very smart. She was well read and a little cold. So in this life, maybe you battle with a relationship with your mother where it's either cold and distant, or it would be the polar opposite where it's a little enmeshed even. There's a little too much of a bond going on there, or you feel like you need, something more out of her, or you feel like she is smothering in some way. So that could go either way, and it could change at different times. But there was something about the mother. You had a decent relationship with your father. There seems to be a flow of energy there, even though he was never really around. He was always working, but you could have intelligent conversations with him. I think that your mother also preferred everyone but you, which is sad. So there could be this sense with mom energy, or if you are a mother, that you really want to heal that. Okay, it's painful when your mother would prefer anyone but you to spend time with, to discuss things with, to build up. It's like she took no pride in you. Some people just aren't meant to be parents, it happens and whatever. But I think that, you're bringing healing to that by being very present for yourself. And if you have children, being very present for them, and trying to work on that with your current parental relationships, mom in particular. Please don't. You can come up here, but don't scratch. And there are people talking trash over here, planning to take what you have. So there is this sense of right now in your life, be very careful with coworkers, be very careful with friends, not necessarily like your diehard friends that you know well, but like new friends, acquaintance type friends, people who seem like their energetic transfer is a little bit like a poker face on the body, and their energetic transfer is very, I heard, detached. There's a reason for that. Okay, don't trust that. There are people who are jealous of what you have, and there are people who think that they can get what you have or take it from you by sort of like stealing it or displacing you, or talking bad about you, and you become like discredited because it feels like you were trying to go a little bit of your own way and build a life for yourself back then that was a little bit different from what your parents did. And so you had to pioneer it a little bit. You had to receive education or certifications and titles and things like this, and it would not have been hard for you to be discredited because it was new, it was uncharted territory. Okay, and you may have a passion for that in this life too, of like doing things that are a little like uncharted. Okay, this isn't normal, this isn't conventional in any way, and like it's easy enough for people to throw you off your path when you're a little bit of fish out of water. Okay, regardless, I see you pushing on. A lot of jealousy with you. A lot. And they were never going to get that kind of money. So I get it. I mean, but like they could have helped you. They didn't even ask for opportunities to work with you. They were just, crap. Okay, let's move on to another one. We have Jennifer Barone, who already received her reading. So this is just some feedback. Jennifer Barone said, "Thank you so much, Ivy. My head was nodding yes the whole reading. That was right on." Okay, beautiful, Jennifer. I'm glad that hits for you. You guys are really I mean, I only did this one other show. We did the test show and you guys wanted it, so I added it to the 2026 lineup. So I don't remember how that first show went. I just remember it was busy. But it feels like you guys in this show, and this could be like sort of a collective message or just the whole group of you that's showing up tonight, you are really doing the work. I mean, and you've had some tough circumstances that you're coming out of, but I keep feeling that power, any tingling on the right side of your body too, that is your power outside. I mean, you guys are really entering into your power. And a lot of you, I feel like you're done. Like you're just done with the old systems. So this should be really exciting. Be sure to follow up. I always want to hear in the future how things are going. Mindy Garcia, who I already read, is just saying that definitely resonates. Immediately being the key word. Thank you, Ivy. Absolutely. You are very welcome. Yes, being fast. Being fast. All right, we are going to move on to another one from Alicia Fulvey. Alicia Fulvey asks, I am open to what I need to hear presently in regards to past life lessons. Okay, Alicia Fulvey, what past life lessons are coming up that are relevant? I see you as this guy who was a little bit of a hothead. And I'm trying to see where I am. It's got like a Viking feel. I feel like I'm talking Sweden. You know, you throw something at someone, like a pointy spike stick, and you killed him, you know, which was the point. You're not surprised by that. I mean, you knew what you were doing. You killed him, but then it was like an immediate, I shouldn't have killed him. Or I could have thrown that somewhere else in his body, or could have thrown it right next to him, or I could have beat him up. You know, and you could have. There are a bunch of other approaches, and we don't want to spend too much time on that because coulda, woulda, shoulda. It's over. But cool down, calm your jets sometimes, okay? If you find that sometimes you make rash decisions, or if in the past you have been working from a place of maybe anger, but also just emotion, I make my decisions from my emotional states, whatever they are, which are fickle and which typically steer us the wrong way. And they're based on the lowest of human energy, which is like fear, manipulation, control. Okay. You may have made some decisions in that life where you won, but what was the prize? A lot of guilt, a lot of regret, a sense of being mean. You know, you had a beautiful heart. I think that empathy is such an underrated form of intelligence. And we see that again today, which is no wonder you were born again today, where there's like a lack of empathy. Okay. And it off the charts amount of narcissism, sociopathy. So you in that life decided you were basically hanging up your sword, so to speak, after you did that. I also think that this person was caught or was kind of coming at you because they had to. I do wonder if there was poverty there, if they were desperate for something. Now, we're not going to give people free passes for trying to like rob us or steal all our shit, or, you know what I mean, put us in danger's way. You know, so be it. I mean, you had a right to protect and defend yourself. You did. But did it have to go that far? I feel at the same time, this battle, this dichotomy in your head, you know, you have to process that in this life, and you have to understand that you can't feel bad for defending yourself. I think, quite frankly, just putting in my 2 cents, if someone had done that to me, he would have been dead. If someone did that to me now, you're going to die. I'm not taking the time to find out how bad it's going to get or to give you a chance to do it again. You're going to go down, and it's one less. And I think there's a time and a place for that level of harsh attitude. And that was it in some ways. Okay. And that's it now. All right. But you have to make peace with that. You can want to be the peacemaker all day long, and that doesn't make it the higher vibrational thing to do. It doesn't make it the right thing to do. It doesn't mean that you're not enabling or allowing other people to be hurting yourself. It is a responsibility that you have to yourself. Self-love, self-protection, self-advocacy, self-defense. You are responsible. The universe is holding you accountable for that. You are responsible to protect and defend yourself unapologetically. Okay. And only when you do that will the universe be able to step in and protect you the rest of the way. So you could be dealing with some guilt, whether it be survivor's guilt in this life. You could be dealing with some hard lessons in areas where you have given too much to people, or you've allowed yourself to be a punching bag. You know, you're working all of that out. So try to hold on to your humanity and your intelligence, your empathy, but also do what you have to do when it needs to be done, and do it in such a way where, you know, you really do cut people or situations off at the knees. So yeah, a little bit of a trial and tribulation going on here. That is the lesson, is accepting it. You know, I think a lot of us suffer with that, is like feeling bad for something you had to do, you know, and then it's like, could I have done it this way? Could I have done it this way? So, you know, at some point you just kind of need to let it go and be like, look, I just need to get it done. You know, I need to get it done. I will perfect it. Heaven forbid I have to do it again in the future. You know, I will get better at that after, but don't let it eat you up. Hello. Meow. Alicia says, nope, that's the one I just did. Okay, do we have another one coming in here, Diana? Who's next? And just out of curiosity on my time clock, how many more do we have, Diana? I love you. And you can come up here if you want. I feel like I have lipstick on my teeth. What? Am I freezing? Is that what's going on here? Okay. I hope not. I don't know. The internet has been so weird out here. We had some type of storm, 70-mile-an-hour winds. I didn't even notice it, quite frankly. But it blew up my modem. I've never had that happen. And they were like, we can't even fix this. So like, you're going to have to come down here. You're going to have to get a whole new modem, that electrical storm. Like so I had to start from scratch. This is all brand new. There shouldn't be problems. And I'm talking, this is just a few days ago. All right, let's see what's going on here. Joel Amico, long time no see. Joel Amico. What past life is affecting you now? What do you need to know? Joel. You know, there's this image of you running up a hill, and what is this? Slovakia? Is this Russia? Slovenia? I don't even know where that is. Yeah. Okay, I want to say this has like a Russian feel to it. It's this image of you running up a hill with like a kid here, a kid on your back, like you're carrying something else, like you're carrying a bunch of stuff. And you may have been forced into a situation where you had to carry a lot of weight, and you had to do things sort of quickly. There's talk here also of like your parents not doing well. And like, what more can we add to this? Let's add on that your parents also need you. Okay. So it's like, these kids need me, and I'm carrying all this weight, this like literal baggage on my back. And I've got this work stuff, and I can't put any of this down. Like, no ball can be dropped here. And now my parents also need me. So you may have had to leave. You may have had to kind of rush through a bunch of things, and, there were some very stressful situations, and then you had to kind of leave and go off and help. Okay. Them as well, the parents as well. And so you would have been gone for a fairly long period of time. I mean, I'm feeling like at least weeks. And, you had a lot of concerns, the whole time you were there, and you were dealing with stuff and family and whatnot, trying to be helpful. You really were worried, okay, that the family back home wasn't doing well, that they couldn't make it without you. And so you're in two places at all times, at least. This feels very much like an octopus. Maybe you were an octopus in another life, but it's like, I got all these arms and they're all stretched. They're all being used for something. Now, what I love about this is that even when you were in this sense of like tension, and, you were up against a time clock, and you were sort of running to salvage everything, you were funny. You were making jokes. You had the kids laughing. You know, you had, even if your parents were sick or you were dealing with siblings or whatever, there was a heaviness to that energy. Somebody's passing away. You had a way of cracking people up. I mean, you're always looking at the bright side. You're always, you're not even trying, but material is coming to you. Okay. And you are spot on with the timing on your humor. So there's a certain intellect going on there as well. And I think that what's happening in this life is that you're taking on too much. I think you are feeling as though you are running like a mouse on a wheel, and trying to be upbeat about that, but also recognizing I have maybe overdone it, or I can't go at this speed forever. So what needs to be let go of? Because in your mind, back in this past life, it's like, I cannot drop a single ball. I think I said that out loud. It's like, I can't put any of this down. Not this person, not these parents, not what I'm headed toward back home, not this bag, not this work. I can't put any of this down. It's like, it looks like you're carrying furniture too. Like some of this could be symbolic with the junk you're carrying, but it's heavy, and it's not necessary, and it's untrue. It's untrue that you couldn't have put any of that down. Did you want to? No, you didn't want to. That's the truth. You didn't want to put any of it down. So it's a little bit of a wake-up call where you are in this life. Do an assessment. I'll wrap it up with this. Do an assessment on everyone that you're entertaining, everything that you have to take care of, everybody within your, especially the family unit, okay, but your community in general, the work that you do, and what you feel you have to carry, and doing it with a smile, doing it like an entertainer, right? You don't have to, and it's done. Okay. You did what you needed to do. You can rest. It's time for you to focus more on you. And this could also, because you didn't really take good care of your health back then, and I can't prescribe or diagnose, we could be looking at some stuff through the abdominal area on the left side and down through like the, lower back hip area, going down toward the knee as well. I'm getting it more on the left side, but it doesn't have to be that way. Okay. Take it how it resonates, but we want to take care of that area as well. All right. So thank you. Joelle. Okay. We are going to, God, it's cold in here and I don't understand why. Kate Evans, Esmeralda Marie. She's attacking my feet now. This is like, she's a wild woman. Kate Evans asks if you are in the old funeral home from TikTok. I am in the old funeral home, and I just pinned a video from like where I walked through. You guys like had asked for more of those types of videos, and I pinned that recently because I want to do more of those videos. Also, I started moving. So what I'll be doing here, showcasing the old funeral home, the 1882 Victorian funeral home, is like moving throughout as we produce. So I will be here in this spot for probably another week or so. And then I'm going to do a sort of around the world in 2026 from different spots in the funeral home, because you guys had asked to see more of like the architecture or the creepy shit that's here or whatever. Okay. So this was the second spot I moved to, which is funny. Thank you for bringing that up, because I was going to explain to you guys like why I picked this spot. You see these beautiful, like the etched glass, right? These are all original. And they're all over the house. And there's a different design in every window up at the top there. And when the sun comes up in the morning, people who stay for the haunted sleepover love this because they sleep down here. But when the sun comes up in the morning, the whole house is filled with rainbows. And we've got them down here and even upstairs, and they're amazing. Yes. And the woodwork was all perfectly preserved in this place. So you'll see as I move through the other spots, because, this sat vacant for 16 years. Okay, so the people who tried to buy it up, all their sales fell through, except for mine. So the woodwork wasn't painted over, by some business who came in here or split it up into apartments, or it was supposed to be at one point like a boys and girls club or something. They would have ruined it. They would have wrecked everything. And so the woodwork is perfectly preserved. And before the 16 years it sat vacant, it was the most successful funeral home in the area for over 55 years. So he kept all of this. It's just amazing. It's so beautiful. But yes, thank you for asking. And I will be doing more creepy videos on all the weird stuff, because I know you guys had asked for that. So yeah, I just pinned one of the videos I did on that. The body bag room and the anal plugs and the belly button plugs and the weird like head measurements. And if you guys aren't on my TikTok, go check it out. So my TikTok is at AskIvy, or it'll say Ivy Rivera Psychic Medium, and it's the real one. It has over 300,000 followers. So please follow me there. All right, we're going to move on to another one. Mahogany has a lot of mahogany. You know, I haven't found out. I didn't even ask, honestly, what type of woodwork this is, but it does look like mahogany, doesn't it? All right, what are we moving on to? Hi, Ivy. What past life experiences are benefiting me now? Thank you. This is a reading for Jess. That is a great question, Jess. Okay, so Jess, what past lives are benefiting you now? Money. You worked with money. I see you a little bit like Scrooge, a little miserly. You know, you were counting a lot of money. You would count it over again. You count it over again. But it's changing every time, which tells me you're not counting the same amount. Like, you're not nuts about it. You're measuring. And you're looking at fluctuations. Okay, so some of this money also doesn't seem to all be yours. You are counting for what feels like a father. So you're coming through as a male, dark hair. You may have had money from your father. Your father may have also been in a similar business. So you would have learned about it even as a kid. And then you took over. And so it's like, now I'm doing this for myself. You also seem to be in some type of like banking. So some of this isn't even anyone's money. It's like other people's money, 100% other people's money. You seem to be involved in investments also. So whether this is like trade, stocks, you know, like you're putting money into, you're not necessarily encouraging people. You're almost saying like, well, I can't give any financial advice, you know, but then you sort of are, and then you're putting their money there, which makes you more money. You almost seem like a broker. What are you doing? Okay, so anyways, you knew money, and you knew it because your father knew money, and your mother's side, your mother knew money. And so what you're doing in this life is understanding how to invest, how to use money as leverage, how to use resources to create more resources, you know, more opportunities, how to also be fluid in that. And you seem to struggle a little bit with this, where maybe you would hoard things a bit more than what was really recommended. And I think it's important to understand that in this life, you don't want to focus too much on like my savings, you know, and I can't give financial advice. Okay. So I'm just saying it's how it looks to me. But you know, you don't want to just try to hoard for like a rainy day, but how can you invest your money into other things to increase your resources? Try not to be afraid that like you could lose it. You know, easy money is money easily lost. Like, get rid of the old school mentalities, get rid of any poverty mentality also that you may have, where it's that miserly type of attitude, you know, because you can do incredibly well with money. You're like a magnet for money. Now, this is also about utilizing your other resources. And this is something I don't even think you identified yourself as having in that past life, which was that you were multifaceted. You could have done that banking. You could have done investments. You could have been like a broker for people. You could have done your own entrepreneurship or business ownership, and sometimes you did, but you could have also gone over here and been a talker. You could have been a public speaker. You could have gotten into politics, which you really debated on from time to time. You could have gone over here and done more teaching. It's like there were so many different things that you could have done. You could have gotten involved in other businesses that were very like I'm hearing showmanship. They were very like circusy. They were very and full of entertainment, and it's like a freak show. It's like very curious, curiosities and oddities. It's like you could have invested in things like that for shits and giggles, just for fun with like business partners, and then opened it up to the public and had a grand old time, right? I live off this stuff. I love that lifestyle. And then on to something else, and on to something else, and on to something else. Like, why not? But like you didn't. You had all these ideas. You were the guy who talks about all his ideas and really does none of them. Okay. In this life, you need to take those ideas and realize what a power that is, what a strength that is. That it's not just you being creative or seeing a way to, be a little ahead of the game, knowing what the collective is going to want, what they're going to be interested, right? Most people who have insight into what the collective needs or wants, they get that insight about 10 years ahead of time. So when they come out and they start doing it or working toward it, it's like crickets. No one knows what the heck they're doing. And it can even seem crazy. And then it catches up. Okay. And like lighting a match, it's on fire and everyone wants it. Okay. And you're there and you're set up. You're prepared. So I think that's a strength for you, as well. And, you just need to engage in it a bit more. Yeah. Advising financially too. I don't know if you're a psychic. I mean, I know you're psychic, but I don't know if you're doing it professionally. I mean, I don't see a lot of it. So I'm going to go with no on that. But I want to say that, you could give great financial advice based on your gut, based on your intuition. I wouldn't rule that out either. A lot of it is. As a psychic, if you've ever gone to the casino, you're not the only one there at the roulette table who's a psychic. All those old guys smoking cigars with their beards and their drinks, like they're all doing the same thing. Everyone knows. We're all working from the same place. All right, let's move on to another one. For Hazel, Miami Heat, a past life in love. Okay, Hazel. Love reading, a past life love reading for Hazel. What do we get? How is her love life affected currently by her past lives? Some betrayal for sure. Also a lover that you really wanted to have more time with, and the time was cut short. So I would say those are the two big themes I have time to talk about today. And I think they're probably more than enough anyways. Okay. In this lifetime, that'll do. All right. So we have betrayal, and then we have, I love this person. This was a genuine connection, but I lost them early. Both of these are hard to deal with, but there are some significant benefits. Be mindful that in dealing with lovers, you may feel as though you don't trust. You just don't trust. Like they don't even have an opportunity to betray you because you're just clocking it. Like you aren't falling for that again. There is a sense here really of having your backup. And even if you have gone through love partnerships where you're going through the motions and you're, sort of getting more engaged with them in life, whether it's literal engagement, cohabitation, monogamy, merging of finances, whatever it is, you're always doing it from a place of reservation and detachment. You're sort of waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I think that what you may be doing in this life is letting go of a desire to not have that. I think you are realizing that it's something you should probably have. I think a therapist would probably say, you know, Ivy's a horrible person and like, don't do that. Don't allow that to happen. However, I would argue that if you're honest about what people are, they are energy that is constantly changing and transforming. People are fickle and people are susceptible, even if they really, really do the hard work and stay within a high vibration. A lot of the time, as soon as there's change or something hits them, they are susceptible to going into a low vibration. So letting your guard down entirely is really not, shouldn't be a goal. Okay. Guilting yourself for not having fully achieved that is something you may want to let go of. Now, the loss of soulmate, it does feel like it's a soulmate. The loss of soulmate due to an early passing or an untimely death is something that you may carry in this life, where you fear that if you really meet someone you feel connected to and that you can trust, that you're going to lose them. So there could be an almost abandonment wound, like abandonment issues that come to the surface in love. And this could be playing out like sometimes you're almost too much. You know, when you meet someone you feel a strong connection with, you want to kind of lock it down. You know, I want to keep you. You are my pet. Okay, you are mine now. And then the polar opposite, which is like, I want to run from this. I want to get out of this early. I don't want to go through this again. So like, just let me out now. There's some dichotomy there for sure. And I think that what's going to be happening is that you're currently going through some experiences in love where you're trying to pay attention to whether or not also they understand you. Are they paying attention to you as you're going through different things? Are they even aware? You know, would you have to spell it out for them? Are they tapped in? Are they tuned in? Is there synergy there? Is there telepathy? Is there clear empathy? Or is it nothing more than maybe a little bit of chemistry? So that's where you are in this life, is also figuring out how to make sure that if you're going to do this work, it's really worth it, that the connection, the bond is the real deal. Okay. There's certainly a lot going on there in this life, but half the time you really seem like, I'm out. Like, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Hazel. We are going to move on to another one. So this is another one for C. Hello, beauty. Are you back? Where were you? Were you playing with your balls? Yeah. Do you want to come up? You can come up. You can jump up. What pattern am I meant to finally break that I have carried over from a past life? Okay. A pattern to break. Okay. And I'm going to deliberately lean in with your Akashic on this. What pattern, what's the most important pattern? What's the most important pattern for her to break? Double-mindedness? Your poor Akashic, you put this guy through the ringer. He said, you know, there are a couple that he thinks are like the most important, because one, in all honesty, one is affecting your resources. It's affecting your money. It's affecting your opportunities, you know, resources. There are a lot of different ways to look at resources, and they seem linked. Okay. But primarily, if he had to pick one, he's going to go with being double-minded. So who are you fighting? He said, who are you fighting? Who are you fighting? Who are you fighting against? Your mother, your father? You would have had a past life where you weren't allowed. It's almost like do you want me to think? Am I allowed to breathe? Am I allowed to be alive? You know, but it's like everything you did, even when it was right, your parents had a way of shutting you down or belittling it. Mom would belittle, dad would sort of shut you down. You weren't free to truly be yourself. You weren't free to live up to your true potential. You seem to be a girl who's a bit of a tomboy. And I feel like you were verbally dismissed so many times, even when you were passionate about what you were saying, or you were on the verge of tears, or you were sort of shouting it. You did have a mouth on you. You never got in trouble for that, but you know, it's a different form of abuse when you're just being ignored. You know, you were shut down so many times that you lived the rest of your life in such a manner where it was kind of reckless. It was almost like, well, I'll show you, you know, and like your Akasha kept saying, like, who are you fighting with? Who are you fighting with? In this life, you're fighting with you. In this life, you're fighting with your inner dialogue, your inner negative parents. But you know, back then it was like you were fighting all these ghosts. You were trying to prove a point. You may have become reckless. You may have become self-deprecating. You would have made choices that really weren't best for you. Just to feel something. It's like, well, I just want to feel alive. I don't want to just, you know, live by the standards that they're sticking me to. And I think that in this life, you're looking for, and this is what pattern we need to break, right? Wasn't that the question? I'm not going off the rails. Okay, the pattern to break. Pattern to break. Break the pattern of negating yourself. Break the pattern of talking to yourself like your toxic, negative old parents and their crusty, dusty dinosaur ways, okay, where they wanted everything to be the same forever. And because you're a girl, you can't. Break the pattern of being double-minded when you want something that's good for you. You want something from a high vibrational place. You believe something, you know something to be true, and then you just backpedal and you tell yourself to forget it or no, you know, or later. I'll deal with that later. You become your parents. You shut yourself down. Okay. It is not only costing you in all types of growth and change and relationship benefits and self-development, happiness, joy, fulfillment, your life contract, your spiritual abilities, your intuitive intelligence, energy reading, energy manipulation, a million things, but it's literally straight up hitting your money. So your money, your resources, your opportunities for, I heard engagement. I don't know exactly where that's going, but I was going to say, that's what your Akashic said, engagement, but I was going to say partnerships. So networking. Yeah. Okay. That's the pattern to break. I think all else will follow. You guys, I have to take a restroom break. Oh, I'm doing last call. Okay. Do we have any more like, or so I just want to say, you guys, we're doing last call. So we're doing last call, which means if you have not dropped your donation and your question, or if you don't have a question, you can just leave it open-ended. Just drop your donation. You're going to want to go ahead and do that at this time. And then we are going to wrap up the show. I have to use the restroom and I have to turn up this heater because this old house, as I say that, the heater kicks on. I'm not falling for that again. It is not enough. I will be right back. What's going on, Mama? You bored? I love you. Come on. Come on over. You can come sit, Mama. Ay. All right. Thank you for being patient. Let's move on to Icy Z Trina. Let's just call you Trina, Icy, okay? Trina. Hello, do we have past lives with our pets? Were they human ever? My cat Binks just passed on Monday, and I always would tell her it was always you, meaning to be in my life. I am very heartbroken. I am so sorry to hear that. We do have a pet show also coming up, pet readings show. I'm not sure if it's next Wednesday. I haven't even run the ad for it, okay? But where I communicate with your lost pets. That's another show that we added to the 2026 lineup. And you can always get a pet reading with me up on my website also anytime. But can you pop that back up, please, Diana, because I didn't write those questions down. But yeah, to answer your questions here, do we have past lives with our pets? Okay, past lives with pets. Were they ever human? Okay. And you said it was always you. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. You could take that down. So absolutely. We do have past lives with our pets. It's not at all uncommon to see. I would say it's more common, than not, to see you guys pair back up again. Sometimes even multiple times, being that animals don't, live very long, unfortunately. It can happen several times over the course of a lifetime. And you would often see that they were protectors, or they were gathering things for you, or they were leading you. If it's like maybe protecting your house, or, things like this, in a past life. And, these days they don't really have to do that type of work, but they are here helping you to heal and to cleanse out toxic energy, to stay stable. We know that our animals actually can pull into themselves whatever stress or disease or pain we're feeling, and then they excrete it. So absolutely, you've been together before. The other question about were they ever human? I myself have done it. And that was the first time I really believed it, is when I had a past life flashback to when I was like a wolf, and I was like rubbing my face in the dirt, and it was this whole weird experience. Anyways, I had a past life flashback once, and that's what turned me into a believer. Because up until then, I really thought, who would choose that, but we do. So yes, it is possible. I don't think that the majority of the time, though, that's happening. I think that people choose to sometimes be animals to evolve certain senses and to have certain experiences that are just only available, to animals, to learn certain types of wisdom and, through nature and things like that. But being of service is a big part of it. So yes, it is possible. It's really fascinating. Okay, let's move on to another one. Do you need a whole new paper? I don't think so. Okay, so this is Abby. Abby says, I had a past life meditation where I saw leather strap sandals and a rough linen long hem skirt. Do you see this too? I'm wondering about it. Okay. So, and I'm sure you guys probably hear that and you're like, oh, well, she was Jesus, Jesus is here. But the thing is, it is not uncommon today during the revolution, which began in January of 2025. I'm not going to go off on some boring spiel on the astrology, but a lot of us, and for those of you who follow me, you hear me say this all the time, a lot of us are back from the times of Christ. that was a huge revolutionary point. We even see it in Gaza right now, what's going on. Okay. So it's the return. It's the return. It's not just the return of like Christ energy and the awakening and all of that. It's the revolution and it's the disruption in the same way, that he would go into, we just saw it on, the other day, he would go into like, the temples and he would flip the tables because they were corrupt. We're literally seeing this play out in real time now. And yeah. So what I see for you is what looks like Palestinian. But you're in a position of, I don't know what you're doing with all this water. It's like I'm carrying a lot of water. It's like you're constantly carrying water. I don't know if everybody did that. Maybe that's normal. You're carrying a lot of water. And you're you're hoping no one asks you for anything. Because it's enough, okay? Like you've carried this enough. I've walked back and forth. I've done this enough. So you're trying not to make eye contact. And you're knowing that some people are going to come up to you and need things. And of course, you're going to help. Of course, you're going to help. It's not even a question. You're going to help. You're going to, detour. You're going to have to reroute and you're going to have to help them. And then you'll come back to what you were doing. But you had to move quickly. You were very busy in maintaining what feels like your community. It doesn't even necessarily just feel like your family. It feels like your community was your family. And I think that you were, and we know this with the Palestinian people, they tend to be very, very kind, very community oriented, as a group. They're always caretaking and watching out for one another and live peacefully. They live in harmony that way. And you would have been a bit of it feels like talker, speaker. It feels like you were teaching. It feels like you were teaching, again, not to say that you were like literally Christ, or even one of, his followers at that time, but it does, or his main group, but it does feel like you're a bit of a follower in that. You are talking and philosophizing and speaking to people about better ways of living, healing oneself, being connected to, whether it be like God, the universe, something greater. It has a real stoic feel to it. And you are definitely a bit of a philosopher in this. You're not subscribing to any one thing. You're not willing to. You also seem to only want to do that. You don't want to seem to do all this ridiculous work or walking back and forth and carrying all these jugs of water and like all this, like you don't really want to be doing anything other than that. But a lot of your life was maintaining, the basics. I think it's interesting that I don't see you as part of like a family, but more like a community. So you may have chosen like not to marry. You may have, I get it. All right. So because you wanted to spend your life on these teachings and the spirituality and this philosophy and this, evolution, there really wasn't a place for things like marriage and becoming a parent and getting bogged down by all the things that come along with, a bit of an entrapment system. So you seem to be like a little bit of a lone wolf within this community. But everybody knew you, everybody appreciated you, and you seem happy. You seem very nervous though. Just very nervous. I think they were nervous times, as our current times, very nervous. I think we're all like, anyone who's awake enough has taken their head out of the sand is like, I'm a little nervous. What is happening? Okay. So yeah. But that's where you were. That's where you were. That's who you were. Jess, we have a comment here from Jess. Jess says, thank you, Ivy. I do love the oddities as well. Highly recommend the Mutter Museum in Philly if you have not been there already. Oh, really? I'm going to have to Google that. I'm going to write that down. No, I haven't. I haven't been in Philly in a couple years. I was shocked. You know, when I went back to Philly, there was so much going on. There was so much growth, and it was a really nice time. The Mutter Museum. Interesting. Thank you for that. I will check it out. Do we have another one? What is it? Poor mama. Poor mama. Okay, we are at time. All right, excellent. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. You know, you guys made this happen. You wanted this as part of the 2026 show lineup. You gave it a ton of support. And, you know, here we are. I love this show. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Again, if you want to gift this to someone, or you want to do this privately or learn a little bit more, you can book it up on my website, ivyriverapsychicmedium.com. If you want to get educated more on your past lives, I will be teaching my past lives class to the public here soon in the next couple months, but it's also available video download up on the website, and it's called Karma Contracts and Past Lives. Now tomorrow, oh good, we have one more comment from Abby. I'm going to read that in a second. But tomorrow I will be back here doing, are you a psychic, a medium, or an empath? So I'm going to tell you what intuitive intelligence you have going on, how you could best use it. Don't miss that. And that's going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern back here on all these platforms. So Abby said, where was this? There we go. Abby said, thank you, Ivy. I saw grasses and dirty feet, probably from walking and carrying water. Probably. You know, it's funny though, because like your sandals feel really comfortable. So they need to make shoes the way they used to make shoes. Okay, you guys, love you. Stay tuned. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Spirit. Have a good night.